Hi boys and girls, we're here on location, and if you look way in the background, you can see some swans. And our story today is not about swans, but close. Gabriel, what's our story today?
Make way for ducklings.
Boys and girls, this is my son Gabriel, and he's going to share the story with you. All right, go ahead, Gabriel.
Make Way for Ducklings by Robert McCloskey. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were looking for a place to live, but every time Mr. Mallard saw what looked like a nice place, Miss Mallard said it was no good. There were sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water. She was not going to raise her family where there might be foxes or turtles. So they flew on and on. Oh wait, I forgot to show them.
It's okay.
When they got to Boston, they felt tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on the top. The very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Mallard. So they down flapped.
I trust the picture. Here we go.
Next morning, they finished for their breakfast in the mud. At the bottom of the pond, they didn't find that much.
Let me kind of focus in a little bit. Just as the day were getting ready to start on their way, strange, ominous birds came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on the back. "Good morning," quacked Mr. Mallard, being polite. The big bird was too proud to answer, but the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water, so the Mallards followed them all round the pond and got another breakfast, better than the first. "I like this place," said Miss Mallard, as they climbed out on the bank and waddled along. "Why don't we just build a nest here and raise our ducklings right in this pond? There were no foxes and no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better?" "Good," said Mrs. Mallard. Mr. Mallard, delighted that at last Mrs. Mallard had found a place that suited her, but "Look out!" squawked Miss Mallard, and all of the dither. "You'll get run over." And when she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies. With all those horrid things rushing about, we'll have to look somewhere else." So they flew over Beacon Hill and round the State House, but there were no places there. They looked in Witzenberg Square, but there was no water to swim in. Then they flew over the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Mallard. "That island looks to be a nice and quiet place, and it's only a little way from the public garden." "Yes," said Miss Mallard, remembering the peanuts. "That looks just like the right place to hatch ducklings." So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water. and settled down to build their nest. And only just in time, for now they were beginning to molt. All their wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew. But of course they could swim, and one day they swam over to the park in the riverbank, and there they met a policeman called Mitchell. Mitchell fed them peanuts, and after the Mallards called on Mitchell every day.
Why don't you show us the picture?
Oh yeah. Oops.
There's Mitchell. Officer Mitchell.
After Miss Mallard had laid her eggs in the nest, she couldn't go to visit Mitchell anymore. Because she had to sit on her eggs to keep them warm, she moved off the nest only to get a drink of water or have her lunch or count the eggs to make sure they were all there. One day the ducklings hatched out. The first came Jack, then Cack, and then Whack. Then Mac and Knack and Quack and Pack and Quack. Mr. and Mrs. Mallard were bursting with pride. It was great responsibility taking care of so many ducklings, and it kept them very busy. She taught them how to swim and dive. She taught them to walk in a line, to come when they were called, and keep a safe distance from bikes and scooters, and other things with wheels. When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, "Come along, children, follow me before you could wink an eyelash. Jack, Cat, Whack, Mac, Knack, Quack, Pack, and a Whack fell into line just as they had been taught. Mrs. Mallard led them way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank.
Is there a picture of that one?
They waddled ashore and waddled along till they came to the highway. Miss Mallard stepped out to cross the road. Honk honk went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack went Miss Mallard as she tumbled back again. Quack quack, quack quack went Jack, Cack, Whack, Mac, Knack, a Whack, Pack, and Quack. Just as loud as their little quackers could quack, the cars just kept speeding on by and honking. Miss Mallard and the ducklings kept right on quacking and quacking, quacking. They made such a noise that Mitchell came running, waving his arms, blowing his whistle. He planted himself in the center of the road, raised one hand to stop traffic, and then beckoned with another, the way the policemen do, for Miss Mallard to cross the road. As soon as Miss Mallard and the ducklings were safe, the other side of and on their way to Mount Vernon Street, Mitchell rushed back to his police booth.
Let's see what that street looks like.
He called Clancy at headquarters and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street." Clancy said, "Family of ducks? What?" "Ducks," yelled Mitchell. "Send a police car quickly." Meanwhile, Miss Mallard had reached the corner bookshop and turned into Charles Street. With Jack, Cack, Lack, Mack, Knack, Owack, Pack, and Quack all marching in a line behind her. Everyone starred an old lady from Beacon Hillside. Isn't it amazing? And the man who swept the street said, "Well now, ain't that nice?" And when Miss Mallard heard them, she was so proud, tipped her nose in the air, and walked along with an extra swing in her waddle. When they came at the corner of Beacon Street, there was a police car with 4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. The policemen held back the traffic so Miss Mallard and the duckling could march across the street. Right on into the public garden.
What does a public garden look like?
You can see there's the trees and stuff.
Very pretty.
Inside the gate, they all turned round to say thank you to the policeman. The policeman smiled and waved goodbye. When they reached the pond and swam across to the little island, there was Mr. Mallard waiting for them, just as he had promised. The ducklings liked the new island so much that they decided to live there. All day long they followed the swan boats to eat peanuts. And when night falls, they swim to their little island and go to sleep. The end.
Very good. Hey, before we end our video, why don't we show the boys and girls what it looks like along the banks here and see if they think like this would be a good spot for Mr. and Mrs. Mallard to raise babies. What do you think, boys and girls? Would this be a good duck habitat? I think so. I bet you those swans way back there. Let's see if we can find them again. I bet you this spring they might have some baby swans there. Hey, Gabe, what do you say we look both ways because we don't have Officer Mitchell here? And do you want to cross this street and see if there's some more good duck habitat? All right, so you going to carry all those blankets for me? All right, whoops, there's our book, fell Gabe.
Oh, oops.
Thanks. All right, boys and girls, we're going to go take a look across the street to see if there's some more good duck areas. But there is a car coming, so we're going to stop and look both ways. Remember when we used to do that? We'd look left, everybody look left, everybody look right, everybody look left. All right, no cars, here we go. No cars, but there is a rollerblader. All right, here we go. Let's see if there's anything down here that we like. It is cold today, but it's